Today we're going to talk about order of operations. You guys have seen order of operations before. You called it PEMDAS. And from here on out, you'll be calling it GEMDAS. The reason for this is because there is more than one type of grouping. So the G stands for grouping. This will include parentheses, brackets, absolute value, and square roots. These are all considered grouping, and you need to evaluate them first. Then you move into exponents. From there you multiply or divide. You want to work from left to right in the problem. Then we're going to add or subtract, solving from left to right in the problem. Please remember that you're going to do one operation per step. For full credit on tests or quizzes, each problem must be solved using only one operation per step. All work must be shown. So looking in the example 1, I'm going to write GEMDAS off to the side. First you want to look for grouping. So I have parentheses. That's going to be my first step. So I'm going to rewrite everything else. 3 times 2 squared divided by 6 minus 3 is 3. My grouping is done. So now I'm going to do exponents. So that's 2 squared. 3 times 4, because 2 squared is 4, divided by 3. My exponents are done, so I'm going to cross those out. Next, I'm going to multiply or divide, working from left to right. From left to right, multiplication came first. 3 times 4 is 12. So then you have 12 divided by 3, which is 4. Circle your final answer. And there is no adding or subtracting. Looking at example 2, same thing. I'm going to write down GEMDAS so I keep the right order. First thing I have, there's parentheses or grouping. So 4 minus 1 is 3. So 3 squared, negative 3 times 3 squared plus 22. There's no more grouping, so I'm going to cross that out. So now I need to do exponents. So that's 3 squared, which is 9. Notice I'm keeping the parentheses there each time. So now I have negative 3 times 9 plus 22. My exponents are gone, so I'm going to cross that out. So I'm going to multiply or divide from left to right. So right here, negative 3 times 9 is negative 27 plus 22. I have no more multiplication or division, so I'm going to cross that out. And then adding and subtracting from left to right, negative 27 plus 22. These are different signs, so I'm going to subtract and keep the sign of the larger number, which is 27. So I'm going to get negative 5 for a final answer. Circle negative 5. turn the page. Let's do some practice. Let's look at problem 1. I'm going to write down GEMDAS. So I keep my steps. I have no grouping, so I'm going to cross that out and look at my exponents. So here you have no parentheses. Okay, so it's 2 cubed. So 20 minus 2 cubed, which is 8, times 2. I have no more exponents. I'm going to cross that out. So I'm going to multiply or divide from left to right. So that's 8 times 2, which is 16. So 20 minus 16. So I'm going to add or subtract from left to right to get a final answer of 4. Make sure you circle that. Look at number 2. You want to do your grouping first from left to right. Within your grouping, you want to see this as a mini order of operations. So in this case, exponents comes before multiplication, so I want to evaluate the 1 cubed first. So you get 2 times 1 cubed, which is 1, minus the absolute value of -2. I still have grouping, so you're going to say 2 times 1, which is 2. Okay, so now your grouping is done. There are no exponents, so now you want to multiply or divide from left to right. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Oh no. Sorry guys, backtrack for 1 second here. You have one more grouping, which is absolute value. So you have 6 divided by 2 minus the absolute value of -2, which is 2. So now you can multiply or divide from left to right. So you get 6 divided by 2, which is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. Circle your final answer. Now let's look at number 3. I'm going to write GEMDAS down. Okay, you want to look at your grouping first. Within your grouping, you want to evaluate it as a mini order of operations. So you would do your exponent first. So you have -3 times 9 minus 3 squared is 9 minus 2. So you keep going with your grouping. 9 minus 9 is 0. Keep the parentheses there. So your grouping is done. You have no exponents. So now you want to multiply or divide from left to right. So -3 times 0 is 0. Minus 2. So your multiplying and dividing is done. Add and subtract from left to right to get -2. Circle your final answer. Let's look at number 4. Here you have a new type of grouping. These are called brackets, which are just another set of parentheses. Okay, so when we work within groupings, make sure you evaluate it as an order of operations. Okay, so within these brackets, you have parentheses. So you want to solve those first. So you have 4 divided by 1 times 5 minus 3 minus 2 is 1. Divided by 2. You still have groupings of 5 minus 1. So bringing everything else down, 5 minus 1 is 4. Okay, notice I kept those brackets there. You have no exponents, so now you want to multiply or divide from left to right. So in this case, 4 divided by 1 is 4. Okay, remember this was a multiplication anytime you don't have that sign there. So now you have 4 times 4 divided by 2. You're still working from left to right. So 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, and then 16 divided by 2 is 8. Circle your final answer. Let's look at number 5. Start with your grouping. Within my grouping, I have 5 times 3, which is 15. Keep the parentheses, squared, plus 8. So your grouping is done. Now evaluate your exponents. 15 times 15, or 15 squared, is 225. Bring everything else down. There's no multiplication or division, so now you want to add or subtract from left to right to get 233. Circle your final answer. Let's look at number 6. Looking at number 6, you want to evaluate this fraction bar as a grouping. So you're going to evaluate that first. To go further, you need to evaluate numerator first, then denominator, so then you can treat it as a fraction. So for example, completing the numerator first, 10 plus 8 is 18. Then you complete the denominator. 2 times 3 is 6. So now simplify your fraction. 18 divided by 6 is 3. Okay, so now your grouping is all done. There's no exponents. There's no multiplying and dividing. So you want to add and subtract from left to right. So 3 minus 2 is 1, plus 5 will give you a final outcome of 6. Now let's look at number 7. Remember, your absolute value bars are considered a grouping, and we work our groupings from left to right. So you want to evaluate absolute value of 4 first. Okay, now you evaluate your grouping, your parentheses. Within your parentheses, you want to treat it as if it's a mini order of operations. So bringing everything down, 3 cubed is 27 minus 6, all parentheses squared. So now subtract 27 minus 6 is 21 squared. So all your grouping is done. Now you look at your exponents. 21 squared is 441. You multiply or divide from left to right. 4 times 441 is 1,764. Plus 4 is going to be 1,768. Circle your final answer. Let's do one more together. Number 8. Okay, looking at your grouping, this entire thing is within a grouping, so you want to treat it as a mini order of operations. So you want to do your grouping first, which is 8 minus 6. So keep the brackets, bring down negative 2 times 8 minus 6 is 2, keep the parentheses, cubed plus 6, close your brackets, this is all squared. So I'm still within a grouping, so now I evaluate my exponent, which is 2 cubed, so negative 2 times 8 plus 6, this is all squared. So now you want to multiply or divide from left to right. So negative 2 times 8 is negative 16 plus 6, all squared. Negative 16 plus 6 is negative 10. Now you have brackets around the negative 10 squared. So if you were to expand this, it would say negative 10 times negative 10, which gives you a positive 100. Circle your final answer. Ask your teacher if you have any questions.